Well, hello, hello, New Orleans community. I am Dr. Avis Williams, the proud superintendent of NOLA Public Schools, and this is Education Elevation. It's a monthly radio show, all things NOLA Public Schools, and just an opportunity for us to keep you informed and updated on what's happening in NOLA Public Schools. And as always, I have a very special guest with us today. I have Nyesha Veal, who is the new Chief Financial Officer for NOLA Public Schools. Hi, Nyesha.
Hey, how you doing, Dr. Williams?
Doing
Hey,
great, doing
everybody.
great. Yay, looking forward to a conversation with you. And normally I have a lot of announcements because we're wanting to make sure that events are being publicized and that we're connecting with the community. But with this being a holiday week, I just want to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And I hope that you have a safe and fun and enjoyable Thanksgiving holiday. If you're doing anything outside, hopefully the weather will cooperate. Bayou Classic, I hope your team wins. And just really take time to reflect and enjoy family. It's such an important season to be able to do that. And we always have so much to be grateful for. Most of you know that joy is one of my core values, and my joy is very closely connected to gratitude. So it's a great time to think about all that we have to be grateful for. And again, just enjoying family and friends. So have fun and happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Now, with that being said, first and foremost, Nyesha, congratulations on the new role.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are you excited?
We gonna see. I'm good though. I'm feeling good. Everybody's been coming up to me, saying it's really nice to see this. So,
Good.
I hope to live up to everyone's expectation.
I have no doubt that you will. But tell us about yourself. I mean, we're excited about having you in this role, but share a little bit about your background and about yourself.
Okay, well, I was born and raised in Central Louisiana. Went to Louisiana College, and that's about 10 minutes outside of Alexandria, Louisiana. Been in New Orleans for the last 12 years or so. And really and truly, I just been in a space of just enjoying the culture, enjoying the people, and, doing what I love to do. And that's just helping people, serving people, and, living life abundantly, of course.
Abundantly. I love that. Yeah. And the culture here is amazing. It's so vibrant and so deep. So I can definitely
Yeah.
appreciate that. But you've been with the district for a number of years, though. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I've been with the district for about 5 years. I started off as a senior accountant here and kind of just grown over time through all of the different things that's been happening with the district and the transitions and transformations.
Yep.
Before the district, I was working at Renew Schools for a long time,
Okay.
as a grants analyst, and that's kind of where I learned the tricks of the trade and education. Before that, I was in the private sector and just volunteering at many nonprofits. So I have a wide range of experience, whether it's in the private sector, nonprofit, governmental, just been all around, so to speak.
Love it. Love it. And, one of the things that we often say, well, Raphael Simmons actually coined this statement that two jobs in education, teachers and those who support teachers. And I know oftentimes when we think about that, I think we think about like instructional coaching or the resources, but none of that would be possible without finances, right? So your
Right.
role is extremely important.
Yeah, you got to be able to follow the money. I tell people all
Yeah.
the time, finance is the nucleus of what we're trying to do.
Yep.
Because in order to run an effective program, in order to educate our kids and build up the leaders of today, not tomorrow, we have to be able to know about our dollars, where they're going, how do we maximize it. And I always tell people a lot, it's hard to tell you no, but I may have to tell you no sometimes.
Right.
But I will also say, but let me offer you an alternative, because we do want to impact our students and their families, and we want to make a difference each and every day. So we got to keep working at it.
Yeah, and you want to figure out how we can do it. It may not be the way that someone presents it to you, but maybe be creative in finding another way to fund the activities and make sure teachers have what they need to be successful. That is so vital. But I know right now, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I'll tell you in a minute.
Right?
But
But don't
but
let me get on
I will always lead with love and be like, all right, but we're gonna
there
work
you
through
go.
this. You know, we gotta figure it
Exactly.
out.
Exactly. Yep. That's honestly one of the things I love about having a strategic plan, though, because it
Yeah,
really does make yes or no easier when you have a strategic plan of action where you can say, show me where this fits with the direction. You know what I mean?
right.
Don't let me get on my strategic planning kick, but
Ooh,
you
stay
are
off
correct.
right now. Stay off right now.
Yeah. So all that said, though, our finances have been in the news here lately. And
Yeah.
I know for me, I've gotten a little frustrated at times because of the misrepresentation of what's happening. And so, can you just kind of break down what happened? How did we get here, and how are we in terms of the process of getting to a solution?
Okay. I think the best way to answer that question to start is to talk about what pays for education here
Okay.
in the city.
Yeah.
And I like to tell people it's mainly based off state and local revenues and heavy
Mm-hmm.
on local revenues.
Yeah.
When you go to the store, you're at the cash register, or you go into a concert or a festival and they're charging taxes, sales tax on something.
Mm-hmm.
A portion of those sales tax goes to your child's education or your family. And that's how we educate our kids. That's one way. Second
Mm-hmm.
way is you own property and you receive a tax bill. A portion of that tax bill also goes to NOLA Public Schools so we can educate our
Mm-hmm.
kids. So
Yeah.
essentially what happened was a lack of communication in
Mm-hmm.
how we estimated those local revenues for the last fiscal year.
Okay.
As they were coming in between July and June, we told many of our school leaders and our finance leaders and community, hey, this is what we projecting, this is what we're estimating,
Mm-hmm.
and we hope to receive this before June 30th.
Mm-hmm.
However, one piece of information that was super critical was, as a department, we did not continue to communicate how things were actually coming in to compare
Gotcha.
to that projected or that estimated number.
Okay.
So that's what caused an overlay or a
Mm-hmm.
lack or a gap in the funding.
Yeah.
However, there's a tougher caveat, which is
Mm-hmm.
we want to confirm those revenues as into,
Right.
well, what were we supposed to have? And
Right.
there's been a lot of confliction, so to speak, in what
Mm-hmm.
we were supposed to have received. So
In terms of tax dollars.
correct. So
Yeah.
we're waiting to see what we were supposed to receive in our local revenues for the year, and to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that it is firmed up and
Mm-hmm.
it is in alignment with what we thought it was,
Okay.
so we can project better how close we were to the estimates that we originally put out back in
Okay.
the spring of 2024.
Gotcha. Okay. And so that's a process that's still in progress, basically, in terms of getting the exact numbers. And I know in the conversations that we've had, we wanted audited numbers so that we know that they are accurate. Am I saying that
Correct.
right?
Correct. And that's what we mean by confirming those revenues. So we have
Yeah.
an external auditor doing that.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a lot of dialogue and communication with our auditors and the city of New
Mm-hmm.
Orleans to make
Yeah.
sure that that is together. Because one critical thing is the city of New Orleans is the ones who's collecting the sales tax
Right.
receipts. Well,
Mm-hmm.
the stores collect the sales tax receipts and reports it to the city. But
Okay.
also when you're paying the property tax bills, we pay that to the city. The city is in charge of collecting all of those things
Mm-hmm.
and getting the information up, divvying it out to who the funds are supposed to go to.
Yeah.
That the taxpayers say, yeah, we're going to pay these taxes and make sure you go to these places.
Yeah.
So that's a critical part in this as well, and that's one of the holdups. It just takes a good bit of time to make sure that everyone's on the same page. So
Yeah.
I know it can be frustrating at times,
Mm-hmm.
but we do want to make sure that we're doing the best for our kids and giving
Yeah.
them the best numbers possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you're working with several groups, a financial advisory council, and got some expertise in place and so forth. And I just want to say that the district is absolutely committed to ensuring that we're transparent about this process, and that moving forward, that communication will be transparent and open. Because at no point is it our goal, of course, to have a situation that's confusing to people, and especially when it seems as if it's a dire situation. I'm always a big believer in let's lead with data, right? But also get the facts. And I think
Right.
that that's one of the pieces that has been difficult for people to be patient with, as we were able to do those things.
Right. There's not any money missing
No,
NOLA PS.
and it wasn't a miscalculation.
Yeah, it was solely an estimate that was put out there originally, was never
Hmm.
updated.
Right.
So if we would have communicated a little better
Yeah.
and stayed on top of how everything was coming in real time, I think it
Yeah.
would have made a tremendous difference
Yeah.
to maybe adjust that estimate, of course. But
Hmm.
we're here now. We're moving forward. I
Yeah.
like to say we have this can't stop, won't stop attitude, because
I love
we,
that.
we
Yep.
we got we got to keep
We do hard
moving.
things, right?
Yeah,
And our district has done hard things before, and we will get to the other side of
yeah,
this.
we always do.
Yeah.
This one is taking a little longer than usual,
Yeah.
but we're just gonna keep pushing. Like we're dedicated to doing what we have to do for our families, and that's what we want to continue to just push out good information. We
Yeah.
want to improve on our processes. We want to learn from
Hmm.
this.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
this is how we're going to do it, working
Yeah.
together.
I love it. I love it. Well, when you think about the financial situation that schools are in from a national standpoint, we had these Easter dollars during the pandemic and shortly after the pandemic. And I know at this point they're expiring or expired, right? And I know for a while we were hearing the term fiscal cliff. And I have some colleagues who are experiencing it in real time where, unfortunately, the way they spent their Easter dollars were in either programming or personnel that needed to be sustainable, but the funds are gone. So, could you talk a bit about how our district has prepared for this ahead of time and what it looks like moving forward without those Easter dollars?
Uh, those dollars were important. The pandemic
Mhm.
relief funds were very important to the district. One thing we've done to try to avoid a hard hit on that fiscal clip, so to
Mhm.
speak, is to start phasing early. So
Yeah.
we knew September 30th was coming around the corner quick. We started to phase out or find
Mhm.
other ways or methods in order to support different programming initiatives that we have. So
Okay.
we do have system-wide needs funding that's able to help the system as a whole with different programs, whether it's EL, mental health services,
Mhm.
you name it.
Mhm.
As a system, we try to do what we need to do in order to better our kids forward. Another
Yeah.
thing that we've tried to do is just really sit down with our leaders in the
Mhm.
community and try to educate them and like really make them think about, so I know what you want to do. This goes
Yeah.
back to saying no, right?
Yeah.
You know what you want to do, but how do we maximize the program
Mhm.
knowing that you're going into a season where you may not have as much as you had?
Right.
So I know you like to be in the land of overflow, right? But
Yeah.
but this is where we at. So
Yeah.
how do we plan in phase, like break it out in phases to where we could utilize other sources of funding better?
Mhm.
So we've
Mhm.
even been a little bit more strategic with our Title One funds
Yeah.
and other federal supports in order
Yeah.
to maximize programming and try
Mhm.
to avoid that fiscal cliff as possible. And I
Yeah.
think we were really good as a district about doing our federal reimbursements or our claims
Mhm. Yeah.
in a timelier manner. That way
Mhm.
we can kind of use some of the indirect costs that you
Yeah.
receive as a means to kind of support the district and continue to support those initiatives. So it's just not
Yeah.
an abrupt stop. you know?
Yeah, and because I think for me that was the good thing about it anyway. Even from the very beginning, we knew that there were timelines, right?
Right.
Which ideally makes it easier to plan. But I do know that life happens in terms of how we're spending money, what our perceived needs may be, and how those may change. So, but I'm really glad to hear that the district has thought about this well in advance and looking at our various funding sources to ensure that we're able to be viable even as this fiscal cliff is still going to be a thing. But it also makes me think about we just opened the Leah Chase School, and
Yeah.
we I think we've talked about this just about every episode of Education Elevation because it is the first new permanent direct run school in almost 2 decades, right? And that costs money. And I know part of our work over the last few months was making sure that we have a plan in place that the board requested on what it would look like to direct run more schools. And so one of the things that I'm curious about is from a funding standpoint, what does that look like? I mean, when you think about the funding, what role does the finances actually play in us making a decision as to whether or not we should direct run additional schools?
I mean, again, centerpiece, right?
Yeah. Like you said,
Because you
right?
gotta be, you gotta be able to pay for this thing. So
Yeah,
how we gonna do this? And like we really do pay attention to knowing who we serve and not
yeah,
just opening a school. It takes so much to open a school, but then the kids get in the building and there's so many needs, like things
yeah,
can happen in the building, operational repairs, or
mm,
you get a different set of students and you're like, man, I need to support them a little bit more. We need to
yeah,
do this, we need to do that. And
yep,
it's like, how do you plan all this? And
hmm,
that's the thing, you got to write the playbook out because
yeah,
we part of the time you don't actually know exactly how you need to support until you know who's in the
yeah,
building.
yeah,
And
that's right.
and it's not just about the students and their families, but what about our teachers and support
Yeah,
staff and their families? Like, how do
yeah,
we better keep them lifted? How do we keep them encouraged to keep coming back? You know,
yeah, no
I tell
doubt.
I tell some staff members all the time, thank you for coming back today. I know
Thank
it
you for
was a little
coming back.
crazy
Yeah, that's what
yesterday,
I
you
love
know?
about recognizing people at board meetings for their years of service. It's like, thank you for choosing us again.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
so
that's real though, because even when you think about the finances, you're right. It's not just about the dollars that we might pour into resources. We do want to make sure that teachers are armed with all that they need to be successful, and that's whether you're talking about having a EAP program or making sure they have the professional development for trauma informed practices and all the things, and it matters. We do get a lot of questions about it, and I think in starting this first school, I think there was an assumption that anytime a school closed, that we were automatically going to direct run it, and that's not what our plan informs. And just for the public that's listening, we do look at it in two separate ways. We look at transformation schools, which might be a school that was otherwise failing that the district may decide to direct run, and then there's also the new school. And Leah Chase is considered a new school because we did start as a brand new school without having the same faculty or leaders or curriculum and so forth. But with that work, we looked at various departments, and finance was absolutely the centerpiece of all of that. And I know you were very active in the conversations, even as we were planning what the direct run plan could look like.
right. So when you talk about the location of the school or
Yeah,
the offerings that you want to put into the school programming
yeah,
wise, what's like the kids, you don't know.
yeah.
Again, you don't know who's going to come to your school.
Right, right.
So there's just a lot of things that you consider, and like I tell people this all the time. I'm like, man, when I was going to school, if I would have thought about all the things that went into school, I probably
Yeah,
would have started my own school at a younger age or something just
yeah,
to see what I
yeah.
could do in a sense of like doing it my way. Because
Mhm.
that's really where you start to have that imagination for like, if I can
Absolutely.
run my own perfect school, like
Yeah,
how I want this layout to look, the
yeah.
programs I would offer. Do I want to be rigorous? Do I want to be super sports related? Like you never
Right, right. Yeah, and
So when I,
lots of options.
yeah,
And I think that is one of the beauty of having a district like ours, so you can have that level of creativity that you might not see in every school district or in every school. So yeah, thank you for
right.
that. So as we begin to wrap up, I always talk about mental health, and we always make sure we take time for a mental minute. And one thing that I always like to ask our guests is just a real simple question. How are you taking care of yourself?
That's a simple, loaded question, by
It
the way.
is.
I just wanted to say that. If nobody put that on the record, I'm putting that on the record. But uh, I do take care of myself, and I tell my team all the time, health is wealth.
Yeah.
So even if the day is crazy, you got to step away, go take a walk. I think a
Yeah.
lot of times music is my therapy,
I
walking by
love it.
water is my therapy. Um, I like sports, basketball in particular. So
Mhm.
just going to shoot some hoops or go watch Pelicans play. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. I just always try to get away. I'm a person I can't be still, so to
Yeah.
speak. So,
Like to keep it
so
moving literally, huh?
yeah, literally, I cannot sit still for nothing in the world, but most of the time I will step away from a desk in 0.2 seconds just to walk
Love it.
around, check on everybody, speak. That's how I get to
Yeah.
know so many people around the building.
Right,
And
right.
that's really therapy. Like sometimes you gotta speak life over yourself while you walking around.
That's
Because
right.
it can be some money is crazy again.
Yeah.
And everybody need it. It's
Everybody
the
needs it.
exchange
And
rate.
you're not always the most popular person.
No, and nor do I try to be. That's
Right, right. Because you really have to have that attitude because, like you said,
yeah,
there are times when you're gonna have to say no, even if you're trying to still make it happen and figure some things out.
yeah. A lot
Yeah.
of people think coming to see finance is like coming to see the mafia. You got the
It's
goods for
not.
me
It's
today.
not.
You know,
Right, right,
I don't
right.
know. You
Yeah.
tell me, but
Right, right.
but
No, you're
that's
absolutely
the
right.
yeah. But that's the best way I take care of myself. Just always know to take a step away. Like
Yeah.
you about to
That's
hit
so
that breaking
important.
point, just take a step away, get some
Yeah.
fresh air.
Yeah.
It'll work
Yeah.
out.
You cannot give what you do not have. That's one thing that I
Yeah,
always say. And you gotta make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And you
absolutely.
just said something that reminds me of how I'm closing. You said sometimes you have to take a step away. And as I don't know if you planted that for me or not, but as you all know, I am taking a step away. So this will be my last time hosting Education Elevation. And I just really want to say, first and foremost, thank you so much to the New Orleans community for the support, for believing in me. Thank you to the Orleans Parish School Board for selecting me. Oftentimes when I think about being the first woman to serve in this role permanently, it's like it's exciting on one hand, but it's sad on another hand because it's like in the 2020s and all, so we need to do better in terms of looking at leadership from a diversity standpoint and making sure that women have a fair shot. But I am proud to have served in this role. And we talked about mental health, and one of the things I'm really most proud of is the fact that we have begun to normalize talking about mental health. It's easy for me to have that conversation with our scholars, with leaders within the community, and groups that I serve on, and so forth. And super grateful for the city of New Orleans and for Children's Hospital for the $10 million investment in Thrive Kids, where we've been able to serve thousands of students and making sure we're giving access to thousands of students and their families, not only to mental health services, but also the wraparound services that they may need. And so that mental health piece is huge. I'm looking forward to taking care of myself. And so, yes, I plan to do some consulting and continue writing. But first and foremost, I'm looking forward to taking care of myself and taking a little bit of time off to do that. But I am super proud of the work that has happened under my leadership in NOLA Public Schools. The mental health resources, of course, being one, but also the other thriving partnerships that we have and being able to provide JAG, Jobs for America's graduates, for our high schools, being able to connect connect with restorative practices for our schools, trauma-informed practices, mental health first aid, and the resources that we're able to provide. And there's still a lot of work to be done with that, especially as we have an emerging number of English learners within our district. We know we'll have to continue to ensure that we're pouring those funds into our schools and supporting our families, and whether they're newcomers or have been in the city for longer. We want to ensure that all of our scholars have the supports and resources, and I do believe that we've made some extreme progress along those lines. The biggest thing I'm excited and proud about, though, is our academic achievement. Because at the end of the day, yes, we absolutely need the mental health. We need to make sure that we've got the resources and the right curriculum in place. Our core work is about making sure our scholars are improving academically so that they can change the outcomes for their families. We talk a lot about achievement gaps, but I like to think about the wealth gap. And we can't improve that wealth gap without a quality education. And under my leadership, we have increased our SPS score by over 7 points. We are 1 point away from being a B this year. And we actually had the highest scores that we've had since we've been using the accountability model that's currently in place, which was 2018. And it's exciting, to see the number of our schools, the vast majority of our schools, I believe it's 90%, have a A or B progress score, and lots of our schools and networks being recognized by the state for their improvement. But this is again, the biggest improvements that this district has seen. And I'm proud of our team. I'm proud of our charter management organizations. I'm really proud of our teachers, and I thank our teachers, and I'm grateful for them. And then, of course, our scholars and families for the work that they do to ensure that school is happening, and school is happening in a way that is improving outcomes. And so with that being said, again, this is my final episode of Education Elevation. So Nyesha, thank you so much for being my guest on my final show. And I will continue to cheer NOLA Public Schools on. I know we're moving in the right direction. I'm super excited about Dr. Fatima Fulmore, who will be stepping in as interim on December 2nd. Excited for her and for the district as we move forward. So I thank the New Orleans community. I thank the Orleans Parish School Board for believing in me. And I really thank our team at NOLA PS, because when I tell you, second to none. We have the most amazing group of professionals that I have ever worked with, and I love, 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 love each and every one of y'all. And like I say to our scholars when we're doing our podcasts, I see you, I hear you, and I love you. And with that being said, this ends our episode of Education Elevation. And I'll end the same way I started by saying happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your families. Be safe, but have an amazing Thanksgiving on purpose. Thanks.